You're watching Taste of Victory.
Digifest was a highly anticipated tournament event in the Digimon community because of Bandai testing out long requested side decks and mulligans. So after this event, has your opinion changed at all, or has it been reinforced regarding the two controversial topics added to the game? We're looking over the results of the Digifest Top 16 tournament decks now to see if we could get somewhat of an idea of the impact of these two mechanics. One of the memes when Digimon TCG announced the implementation of this testing at Digifest was that Jesmon was going to run wild and beat all the top decks in Digimon Fest. Because it's a combo deck, you want to see all your pieces. If you don't see all the stuff that you need, you just mulligan your hand away to get closer into high rolling. So that was a huge meme, but if we take a quick look at just a glance at top 16, of which I unfortunately don't have full list, we have about 11 of top 16. I'm assuming that the rest is like blue hybrids and stuff like that. But unfortunately, PlayTCG has not released a full list at this time. It's now Tuesday as the recording of this, so we're going to work with what we could find throughout the internet. But if we take a quick peek at what we have to us, top 4, no red, top 8, no red. Once we get into top 16, we do finally see a Jesmon in here. And as far as I'm aware, this is the only Jesmon. In fact, I've actually read tournament reports from people that were saying they lost 0-2 and dropped from bricking with Redmon despite the mulligan. So while mulligan does absolutely help your consistency and combo decks get closer to the pieces, it doesn't look like it was the magic bullet to suddenly fix these consistency huge problem decks, because the best of 3 format is kind of brutal on a really high roll deck like Jesmon, with only one being able to make it into top 16. And if we go back and look at results from booster set 6, it's the exact same thing. Only one was typically making it into the top 16 of BT6 regionals and stuff like that. So now let's go ahead and go over the actual list. We have top 4, 3 blue hybrid lists, 1, 2, 3, and coming in at 4th, it is Lilith Loop, updated for booster set 7. Now this was indeed piloted by Ying, aka Human, who also made it to 3rd place nationals with Lilithmon back in the X1 format Digimon USA Nationals. So I attribute this more to Ying being an amazing player. You know, I'm attributing this more to player skill and knowing the in and outs of the deck so well rather than the deck itself, since despite mulligans and side deck to help the combo consistency, we still only saw one Lilith Loop deck in top 16. I think that speaks volumes to how incredible a player Ying is. If we look at top 16, first place was Jose. Pardon me for forgetting the last name at this moment. Definitely, if you are watching, feel free to leave a comment in the description below. Promote yourself if you have a profile on your first place list. But he is running blue hybrids, and this is a little bit of an atypical version because he has some spicy text right here in the main deck, let alone in the actual side deck, which Bandai has also provided the side deck, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that now. But as we see here, a lot of stuff here is what we would have side decked. Instead, he is main decking the one of Forbidden Trident, main decking the Supreme Cannon. Who runs Supreme Cannon? That's a really interesting choice. And if you watch the top 16 stream, that did come in handy and help clear off lethal one turn in one of the top 16 games. He main decks the Azulong and 2 starter deck Matt Ishidas. So it's definitely some interesting choices and tech options here that are different from the typical blue hybrids list, despite having the option to put that in a sideboard. Next up, we got another blue hybrid list in 2nd place, a little bit more traditional here, carrying the Absolute Blast. He does also have the Matishita, however, 3 times Howling Man boost for consistency, and also the one of Azulongmon, but definitely looking more standard. Next up, we got yet another one. Despite combo decks being propped up and despite side decks being able to counter for this, blue hybrids still made top 3. If we look at the previous meta update video, if you want to click in the top right, we see that blue hybrids was one of the most popular decks that weekend as well. So it seems like the introduction of mulligans and side decks at least has not brought it down. Because while there is a lot of positivity for these, it's important to note that the top decks also get mulligan and side deck, which makes them just that much more stronger and consistent. So like it's kind of like the rich get richer. It doesn't do, it helps lower tier decks, but it just as much helps high tier decks. But we see here, this is definitely probably the most standard up between the 3. We see the 4 of Magna Garurumon. We see the rookie lineup for Koji, more focused on this one. This looks more like one of the ones that DigiTubers were uploading back when the format was starting. But that's because it's a solid, consistent build. We see a lot more focus on the Kendo Garurumons here just to have more of those hybrid targets, and that's pretty cool. After that, we got Ying's list, which I was hyping up, which is Lilith Mon for booster set 7. So there's a lot more of a focus on Cerberus Mon in this deck. That's the main difference here. We also have the 1 of win rate, but this deck spews out so much memory, you don't really have to like clutch entirely hard on the win rate like you had to back in X1. So this is an awesome update to the list here. After that, we go to the rest of top 4, or rest of top 8 rather. Top 8, we saw that X antibody deck actually made it in with Gorugurumon and stuff like that. So this is amazing, great list. 4 of black memory boost for that absolute consistency, because black is a slow deck. You need draw power that it just does not have. So yeah, it makes total sense to be maxing out on that. When typically I see a lot of people only running 2 of it. You also max out the Tamer, the Searches, your X antibody pieces, and Chaosmon. Chaosmon's really interesting to help snipe stuff while also taking out your opponent's security. I do like the options in this a lot. If there's a profile somewhere on YouTube, definitely let me know. I would love to hear more about the process of building this deck. Next up, we do have our only yellow-purple hybrids in top 8. There's probably one further in top 16, but unfortunately, as I said, I wasn't really able to find the full results to confirm. This is purple base, however, with the rookies and eggs being purple, but still also the Karis. A lot of people don't like to mix them because they think you have enough to activate Schwarz off of your little eggs and stuff, you know? But the Kari is just such an annoying tamer in this format because you guys can't be OTK'd through that card if they set you at the right amount of memory to choke you, you know? So it's really fantastic. The 2 of Susanomon to keep you from decking out and also get surprise lethal out of somewhere. And this one does seem to be shine focus with 3 whole shines as opposed to the typical 2. After that, we go back to blue hybrid, looking more like a standard build here, kind of similar to the 3rd place one we saw earlier. You know, get the memory boost, the Azulongs, a lot of the Bayo rolls, NST Mat. And then another one to round out top 8, another blue hybrids. After that, we go into top 16. We do have the Jesmon that I mentioned earlier. So this Jesmon did place somewhere within top 16. I don't know what the exact placement, since again, Play TCG hasn't released that yet, and I don't know if there is plans to. But if it does come out, I will update the description with that info. Maybe leave a comment about it. So this looks like a pretty solid standard Jesmon deck. You don't really have too many new cards in Booster Set 7, so it's kind of a small upgrade from Booster Set X1, which is why a lot of people suggest it as a long-term investment deck, even with the hits that are coming soon on the ban list, because this will get a structure deck that'll help patch that up. We just toss in basically the new Hookmon and only the new Blanc Awakened, because CL Awakened isn't really good and doesn't really contribute to the play strategy of this deck as crucially as Blanc Awakened does, which helps get you out of lethal range of stuff. And we also see that his side deck here teched a lot of hate into the purple matchup of the Veg Kidmon, stops hybrid matchups that are super hybrid heavy with Galeosmon to stop the DP, or rather Digivolution cost reduction. We see this, the option that stops other options, which is really cool for the Lilith Loop matchup to shut them down. I wonder if that ever came up within the top 16, as we saw another one. And then side decking another Forbidden Plan in case he needs to access it. Main decking 4 of Judgment Blades, pretty insane. However, that is a security bomb that could get you lethal out of security by playing an extra Sistermon, or stop your opponent from getting lethal because you play out like a blocker Sistermon or something like that. So yeah, it makes sense in this like pretty fast meta to be able to play 4 of those, especially since you can't respond to stuff early because there's so little tamer interaction. You might as well prepare to like blow out in security. And then we did see a purple-yellow Cherubimon yellow base make top 16. I don't know if a pure purple Cherubimon has made top 16 at this event. As far as I'm aware, I have not heard. I think people would have been talking about that a lot if there was. Cherubimon list was brought to us by Kyle Kemper. Thank you so much for sharing that. And he says to make a note here that this list is a little bit different. It should be -1 mats, so 3 mats and then +1 Cutemon. So actually 2 Cutemons, 3 mats was the list that made top 16 at Digifest, Arlington, Texas. But yeah, yellow base seems to be like the way to go with Cherubimon if you're going to build it. This was a very not popular deck in Japan just because of Ice Wall and all that stuff shutting these kind of strategies down, since you can't OTK with Bushi Agumon anymore. But it looks like with that out of the way in the English set and Reinforced being hit too to lower the power level of pure yellow hybrids, Cherubi's really gotten a chance to shine in our English meta, and I love that. I love that this ban list has let more lower tier decks shine and turns out to actually be really good deck. Like, this is a solid 1.5 tier deck after all these results of top 16 now that we've seen. And there was also a Christmas red-green hybrids deck that made it into top 16. Unfortunately, at the time of this, I haven't found the list floating around. I don't know if there's a profile on YouTube or if they've plugged it on their Twitter or something like that. If they have, please let me know, and I could love to watch it to find out what they tech to get into top 16. So it's really cool to see that even red-green Christmas hybrids are making it into top 16 and able to compete at a high level here. For the top 8, Bandai did also show us their side decks, so we saw all the crazy text already in the main deck for the blue first place hybrid player, and here we see the side deck. The Mimi is really interesting. From what I remember, Jose did an interview after the tournament finished up on the Twitch stream, so if you go to Play TCG's Twitch, there is a Twitch VOD there. Hopefully it is still up at the time of this upload, because I know Twitch is weird with saving VODs, but yeah, there is a VOD there. He said that it's actually for the mirrors, so the Hammer Sparks are shut off, because like you pay 1 memory, and now they have to play 2 Hammer Sparks if they even want to gain just 1 memory. So that is a really interesting tech there, considering it's only 2 costs and really cheap. You have to see, if anything, this seems more like this is the consistency side deck. Like he's like, okay, I don't need all these techs for this matchup. Let me side out into more options to Digivolve over and stuff like that. More Howling Bamboos, Aqua Viper, Rattlestar, you know, more hate for stuff like that. So it's interesting. He looks like he actually mained all his techs, and it's kind of more like a consistency swap out in my opinion. After that, we got the other blue hybrids their side decks, and it's really interesting that we see the Supreme Cannon. That's cool that it's in the side deck as opposed to the main deck, how the Jose first place guy had it, but also the Mimi. Looks like a lot of people had that idea. That's really cool. Then we got the third place side deck, Mechanori, interesting there to stop Rookie Rush and stuff like that. With Bokumons running around, don't get those free chip off of them, and more Garurumon, more hybrid options, more hate options for consistency and the matchup, I'm assuming. Or rather the mirror, I mean. And then the side deck, Neo Devimon in the side deck, that's interesting. And then you got the Loosemon Chaos mode. We got the Rebellion for the Jesmon matchup. It looks like they were prepared and ready for that and scared of that coming in, so they could just Digivolve to get a blocker with Retaliation for the turn and then shut off an entire turn of Jesmon decks. Really interesting. Same for the top 8. If we look here, we also have their side decks. Side decks here. Crazy that the side deck was just 4 Neo Devis for the black deck and 4 Parabolic Junk. From what I understand, I think this was also for purple matches, I think they said, because the idea was like you lose a stack to Retaliation, you at least get memory off of this, you know, to kind of make it feel less bad and build up into a new stack. But it's interesting how like not diverse the side deck was. He just went all in on this idea. I like that. And then 2 defeats to make your security stronger. Cool. And then here we have the yellow side deck. More cute monster side and more of that hate. More Fly Bullet. Mechanori is interesting to stop Rush. And Seraphimon for more recovery while also still being aggressive with security attack +1. More blue hybrid one. This is more of a standard, looks like a consistency kind of build for the side deck. Some more options to remove threats if it comes to it. And then more Madoki Betamon siding in that hate to stop memory gain. I'm assuming most of these techs are probably for the mirror. That's what I get as an idea just looking at a quick glance. Unfortunately, that is the only side deck info we have right here. But did mulligans and did side decks make a big difference in this tournament scene? I've been asking around in the Discord since unfortunately I was not able to go, but really hope to make it to the next first in-person event for the Digimon TCG. But I've been asking around, and it seems like the general idea is that a lot of people do think that it made a pretty big impact the side deck, and a lot of people felt positively about it. As we see here, some people have said that they even smoke screened their deck, which is to say they took out decks and put in an entire new archetype. You're basically like switching your entire deck out with your side deck. So that's interesting that you could kind of like, for example, you could be playing Imperial Dramon and then you could smoke screen out into a pure full Rookie Rush build. So that's really fascinating that you could just straight up switch deck strategies like that if they're kind of adjacent, you know? So that's one way to use the side deck. Some people were really interested about that. Others saying it's kind of niche applications, it's mainly just for like hate stuff, so it didn't actually end up feeling like it was too big or impactful or anything like that. So between all of these responses, I'm kind of getting the idea like this is a very nice to have thing, but isn't meta warping or changing or anything like that. And if we look at the top decks, it truly doesn't feel like it changed too much, because like we are seeing a ton of blue hybrids. The only thing we're really seeing less of compared to what we saw last week was less yellow hybrids representation. Otherwise, blue hybrids is still eating pretty good, and as we saw, a lot of these guys just main teched their crazy techs for the mirrors and counters and stuff like that. However, Jose, who straight up won the tournament in a Twitch stream interview after the finals with Huang Zero on the plate, which you could view on Play TCG's Twitch on their VOD, he did mention that he thinks that the side deck is too many cards. He thinks that 10 is too many cards. And as we did see competitors that were top 64 and up placing players saying that they thought that they straight up smoke screened their entire deck into a different play style, like a whole second deck. So that kind of goes in line with what Jose, who won the event, is saying, that he feels that the side deck might be just a bit too many cards, like they should cut it down from 10 cards. A lot of people were worried that they do 15 like Yu-Gi-Oh at first. The side deck limit is 10 cards currently in the Digimon TCG that they tested. So Jose is saying that they should probably lower that count, and yeah, I would not mind that, maybe like 8 cards, 5 cards, something like that. But yeah, Jose actually says in this interview that I suggest you all definitely go and watch. I will try to link the bottom in the description below. He also said that going into the event, he didn't like them. He was not a fan of mulligans. He was not a fan of side deck. He didn't want them. But he actually ended up feeling pretty good about them after the event. I don't know how much that's the bias of coming in first place. You know, I'm sure that probably like plays a little bit part of it, but not like the full thing. Of course not. But you know, but like one of the main things he said with Mulligan helps reduce the amount of non-games. Because sure, we can play every card in our hand on the first turn unless you somehow open all options. And even then you can still play them. But like sometimes you brick so hard, it's just you're just going to lose by turn 2, you know. So it reduces the amount of non-games Mulligan. And it is an all or nothing Mulligan that goes to the bottom of your deck. So like if you open a bunch of crucial combo pieces, like multiple of them, it's going to really be hard to see the rest of them later. You're going to hope to get lucky. So I think it's kind of punishment in itself. I would like to see Bandai add like your opponent draws 1 or something like that if you're gonna mulligan, you know, just to balance it out a bit. But I do think currently just like that risk of bottom decking important pieces just to get greedy and see a perfect hand or some more rookies or something like that is kind of punishment in and of itself right now. Not too bad. But yeah, we do see stuff that did not top last week at all, like this X antibody black deck getting into top 16, so that is really interesting. We see Christmas hybrids, which also I believe just barely missed out on top 16 for multiple tournaments last week, make it into actual top 16 this time. Fortunately, don't have the Christmas hybrid list. If anyone does, feel free to comment below. And we see that Digimon is only getting 1 place. Like the whole like worry and meme was that this deck would run rampant now that its combo is consistent, and it didn't. Its placement did not change really at all from Booster Set X1 or Booster Set 6 in the previous metas. You know, it's still only one of them making it into top 16. So overall, I think the test results of side deck and mulligans were pretty healthy for the game. I think it's a really nice option, you know. I personally am a big fan of mulligans because I do like reducing the amount of non-games, because sure, you can play every card in your hand turn 1, but like if you're playing a mega and your opponent has the answer to it, you're kind of just done unless you start unbricking quickly after, you know. Like yeah, you could have like decent enough hands to play out of, but if all you have is level 4s and level 6s and you only ever keep drawing like options or other level 6s and stuff, like you're not going to come back from that. It's over. So if you're able to like mulligan away a hand like that, I think reducing the amount of non-games is great, especially in a tournament setting. Side decks I was very skeptical of, not a big fan at all. After seeing this weekend, I don't know, I'm okay with them. Like I would prefer not to have them because I do think like they can maybe shut down some decks kind of hard, especially at 10 copies. I really agree with Jose, who got first place, that we should probably lower the amount of cards in the side deck if we're going to keep them. But it doesn't seem like anything was shut out of top 16 that would have made it otherwise before, because we see here we got, you know, just blue hybrid, purple, yellow, black, which is amazing. We got Jessamon, we got Christmas hybrids, we got Cherubi. It seems pretty good. The general consensus seems to be like it did make a pretty big impact to help with your plays, to help with your matchups, and even be able to smoke screen. So maybe that comes out to the size of the side deck rather than the actual side deck existing, period, you know? So it's pretty interesting opinions overall. This is the opinion that we are gathering from players. It seems like overall there's a very positive reception to both of these new mechanics that were tested. And honestly, yeah, this convinced me, and it calmed down my fears a little bit about the side deck, so I'm definitely more lenient towards that than I was. This is definitely still just a testing it out moment. We can't really make one decision one way or the other. Bandai had surveys on site to ask people what they thought of the mulligan system and the side decks at that tournament, so they're going to be taking a look at all that. And we still have Digifest Miami coming up at the end of this week, I believe, so we'll be taking a look at those too to get a more grander picture of what people are feeling, how the meta is actually shaping up with these kind of testing in play. So we'll see. But I think this is really great for now. I hope this was useful to you guys, especially if you're going to Digifest Miami. It'll be really interesting to see the results there. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know anything I could do to improve the format for these future videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.